Hey, it's Aaron, and today I'm with a 2022 Kia EV6. This is Kia's new electric vehicle. It is fully battery electric. Really nicely done. It's got a really sleek look. We'll talk about that in a minute. The hood underneath here is all motor and electronics. There is no front trunk. There's no frunk in this, but it has a very substantial rear cargo space and just a lot of interior room and a very nicely done overall package. So let's get into it. Okay, so underneath this has a 77.4 kilowatt hour battery. Most of that is usable. I believe it's 85%, something like that. That gives it an EPA rated range of 274 miles per charge. Realistic, you're probably going to be more in the 250 to 260 mile range, depending on how much highway driving, air conditioning, heating, etc. that you're using in this car. So real world range is probably closer to 250. So underneath here you have a 168 kilowatt motor. It's about 225 horsepower at about 258 pound-feet. This is all-wheel drive, so you have, that's total motor power, not just one, so you have a motor on each axle. This is wonderfully balanced, drives really, really well. Your charging time will vary depending on the charger that you have. I ran it down to 30%. I don't think most people are going to go below that. If you do, it won't be by very much. That's prudence. That's just like when you're driving a gasoline car. You try to stay above the quarter tank mark, right? Same difference here. I don't think most people are really running these to zero and then recharging them. So that said, that's as far down as I took it. And when I recharged it, I plugged it into my charger, which is on a 50 amp dedicated service, so it can charge at just shy of 41 amps in all, so that's the maximum output. This car, you can change settings on the infotainment as to how much charge you want to take, when you want to take it, if you want to put it on a timer, any of that stuff. So this car would take the full charge I would give it. So doing that from 30%, that charger took 40 odd amps. That charger took about 5.5 hours to fully charge the vehicle to bring it all the way up. Most of the charge was received in that first hour. After that, the amperage drops significantly and it takes it slower. Every electric car does that. That's to save the batteries from overheating. So pretty good setup. Most people with any kind of 220 volt access, so if you have a 240 outlet in your garage to plug this into, then most people should be able to charge this car in less than 8 hours from pretty much empty. So that's kind of the ballpark, and that's what most vehicles are capable of doing. Now, let's talk about design, and then we'll get inside it. So looking at it from the side here, like I said, it's a very sleek looking vehicle. Really, really pretty, and I like this color. At first I didn't, but it's grown on me a lot. I really like this color. So what we're seeing here is a pretty, kind of a basic, almost station wagon profile. You see me in the picture here. That gives you some perspective as to height here. But you can see the roof is sloping downward. It is actually physically sloping downward. That's not an illusion created by the glass. The glass just accentuates that slope. So it does slope downward in the back. You can see it has very, very pronounced fenders front and rear. These are large bulges right here. Then you have this hood crease that's actually kind of a mountain peak in the middle of the hood. That accentuates this and also gives it a sleek aero profile. Coming this way, you can see just right off of this fender here, it starts with this and fades in, runs a line all the way across the bodywork to the other wheel well. Should have said wheel well, not fender. Doesn't matter. These well covers are really cool, and they have these little distortions in them, and these are to create turbulence so that the air flows around the car a little better. It counteracts some of the turbulence created by a tire. These tires, of course, are Kumho's, Krugans. I honestly don't think I've ever heard of those before. But anyway, these are low rolling resistance. If you're driving in a place where you're going to have weather, I would swap these out for something a little stickier. Might affect your mileage, but whatever. I think it would be totally worth it. And then you can see the door handles, another cool thing. So they're almost flush, they're sunk in a little bit. And a couple of things to know about these. If you push on it here, you lock and unlock the doors. If you push on it here, the handle comes out and you can open the door. It's going to beep at me because I left it running. Anyway, the same opening procedure, pushing and pulling, happens on all four handles. You get pretty good at it. I've been using my thumb like this if I'm approaching this way. If I'm approaching from the other direction, I use my forefinger and pull and grab like that. So it's a pretty cool look and very simple. There's nothing to fail on it, which is a big upside. Tesla. Anyway, side mirrors are a good size. You can see pretty well. And then I like the way the design pinches towards the rear, and that pinching actually accentuates this fender, makes it look really huge. It's already large, and it makes it look really huge. That fender is very pronounced in this rear view, which is good because that is not the corner of the car when you're parking. It's further out, upside. You want that. Then you have the roof spoiler up here, which fans out a little bit right here, like a hammerhead shark. So it sticks out right here. And then you have another spoiler here to create the air turbulence in the back so that it's slippery, more slippery running through the air. Really nice look. I love the design on this car. It is so cool. But it's not so like far out futuristic that it looks like garbage, right? So let's go look at the rear and then we'll get inside. So looking at the back here, you see the Kia 9 Inch Nails spin-off logo, and you see the EV6 here, and it doesn't say it's all-wheel drive because it comes all-wheel drive standard. The back windshield has a very steep rake running to this. Then you have this relatively flat, kind of curves in and comes back out. That gives you light shelves, so this gets shaded, this creates some light here, this catches more light as it comes out, and then it flattens to change, and that creates the overall light profile. When you open it, some garbage in there, kids. Anyway, when you open it, what you're looking at here is the basic storage area. It's nicely done. I like the overall size. You can get more stuff in here than you expect. There's tie downs, D-hooks right here. So there's some close to the front and then into the back. Those seats there lean a little bit, so you have more floor than you do actual load. And then because of the rake here, this only comes to here, so you don't have like an SUV with a tall loading area. But you can get a lot of stuff in here. Pretty amazed at how much stuff you can get in here. Underneath here, you've got a little storage space. This storage space is big enough you could hold a charging cord. It does not come with one. You can add one when you buy it. It has a little tire mobility kit because there is no spare. And then it has this, which is very interesting. This I believe comes standard with it. This is basically a little 110 converter. So this plugs into the car, and you plug a standard 120 volt plug into here. Now, something to know, that is not where you plug in the female end. It's a male plug, which means you have to get a male-to-male cord in order to plug into the wall and then plug into this. It doesn't come with that. So I'm not sure why they did it that way. I don't know if this is missing some equipment that was supposed to come with it, but looking at the list of according to Kia, what comes with the car, this is standard equipment, but the cord for it is not, and neither is the regular charging cord. You can get one through the dealership or whatever. You can get both a 110 for this and a 240 for your other wall. I have a charger in my garage, so I've just been using that. Now let's look at the inside. So here in the back seat, I actually have a lot of headroom. I still have about 2 inches left, 2.5 inches maybe, and I'm at 6'3". The seat is a little low for me, but that's true of every vehicle I get in that's not basically a full-size truck. This seat is set for me at 6'3". I have tons of room, tons of it. One thing I don't like though is the seats are very low, so my feet cannot go under them. So sitting in a seat like this, I prefer to stretch my legs if I can, but it's pretty rare that I can. Most vehicles are way too big unless the seat ahead of me sits really high. You got some storage here. This middle armrest goes up and down and has a drink holder, or you can pull back the drink holder and have just a storage bin. You have side pockets in the doors. You could probably get a drink in there, but they're not very big. They don't have the round thing like the front does. USBs on the back of each of these seats for plugging in. These are USB-Cs, not A's. Then you have a beautiful Meridian audio in here that is just wonderfully done. So nice. And yeah, way more comfortable than I expected it to be. So kudos on that. Let's go check out the front. So up front, it is very comfortable. I really like these seats. They feel really good. They're both heated and cooled in this particular one. You have a large display, which I've seen in other Kia vehicles. So it's basically 2 large screens. One right here that is for instrumentation and so on, so that's kind of the gauge cluster. And then there's no visible split, but there is clearly a second screen on this half. That is infotainment and vehicle control. So on this screen here, you're mostly seeing like your charge state, where your power's going, your digital speedometer, stuff like that. Expected range for what you have. So this is saying I have 253 miles from my 86% charge. Over here, your infotainment is mostly touchscreen. You really don't have any hard buttons for much of anything. In fact, there is no hard button to run the radio or anything else. You will do all of that on the steering wheel. You have 3 drive modes. Honestly, there isn't a whole ton of difference between the 3. The major difference is that when you're in eco mode, you can't do like a launch, so you can't go flying. It limits to 0 to 60 to probably something around 7 seconds. If you're in sport mode, you can do it in more like 4.5 or 5. I didn't actually test 0 to 60s in this, but it feels like it's in that range, which is commensurate with most electric vehicles I've been in. You have a physical parking brake here. Well, physical, I mean digital. You pull to release, push to set. You can control your charge options very quickly right here. So if you shut the car off, everything is off, no screens or anything, you plug in back there. The dash won't turn on and tell you what's going on. You'll hear a voice, the speakers will say the car is charging or whatever, but you won't get any indication of like what the charge state is or any of that. You just touch this button and all of that comes up on the screen, stays there for maybe 3 minutes or so, and then goes away again. So if you need to know what's happening, you can always use that button. Otherwise, you use the app. There is a Kia app that goes with this, or you can just use the lights that are on the charge port. I'll show you that in a minute. Well, actually, no, I'll just put a photo up of it or something to indicate what it looks like. Maybe I'll try to do a short video. I'll plug it in real quick. Anyway, that's kind of what's going on in here. It's extremely comfortable. You have a huge amount of storage under here since this just floats over the top of it. This little bin is okay, but it's not the greatest, but it fits more stuff than I expected. You have a wireless charger for your phone in this package. etc. It's nicely done in here. It's extremely comfortable to ride in, like on par with luxury vehicles. All right, so there you have it. This is the 2022, pretty sure, Kia EV6. Wonderfully done car. This is one of the better cars I've driven this year, and if you can get past the fact that it's electric, I know for a lot of people that's a political hot button for some reason. This is by far one of the best cars I've driven in a while. I really liked the Mustang Mach-E. I think this is very comparable to that. But I would really kind of put it up against the Volkswagen ID4. It's a much more comparable car to that. They're roughly the same size. They're kind of the same shape, and neither one of them is billed as a sports car. So beautifully done, very, very well done here. And yeah, it's actually my second time driving it. The first time I drove it was short little stint in Colorado, just to get familiar with it. And I got a really good first impression out of it, and now that I've driven it, had it for a week, used it to shuttle the family around and all the other stuff you do, this is a phenomenal car. So yeah, that's what I got. 2022, I hope, Kia EV6. This has been Aaron. Talk to you again soon. Subscribe.